Many people say to me, whether they're right, left or centre in politics, why didn't Enoch Powell ever become Prime Minister? They constantly say, I hear this all the time. Why didn't you ever become Prime Minister, do you think?
This is a wish fulfillment mechanism on people's part. They like to have somebody, they like to have something they could imagine that might have happened. Because it didn't happen, they haven't got what they want. So very often, when they say, if you'd been Prime Minister, then this and that would have happened, they're quite mistaken. But they like to think that they were cheated of what they would have liked to have just by my not being Prime Minister. So I become a kind of wish fulfillment figure for people in that way. As for myself, well, the chances of becoming Prime Minister are pretty remote, and I shan't spend my declining years in regret and bitterness, but it passed me by. After all, there's only one number against which the roulette wheel can stop.
Are you confident that the Conservatives are going to have another landslide victory?
I don't think the Conservatives will have a landslide victory, and that doesn't concern me. They will have a working majority. The reasons are twofold. The second reason, if I can start there, is that I think that there is no confidence that any other party could form a government, and indeed many of the policies of the opposition parties are quite unacceptable, particularly their defence policies. I think that the divisions in the Liberal and Social Democratic alliance on defence reveal that there isn't an alliance there at all, really. It's just a sort of hodgepodge of ideas put together. The Labour Party have defence policies which are effectively one-sided disarmament, which is quite unacceptable to the British people. But in industrial and economic terms, they're just going to turn the clock back to the sort of terribly inefficient ways we ran this society decades ago. Power back to the unions, high taxation, stifling initiative, more nationalisation, all of these weary, outdated things which we associated with the left.
What problems do you face in the Labour Party? What problems have you got to deal with? And how do you think that you overcome them to win the next general election?
The major problem of any political party is in securing an agreement amongst all its members that the absolute priority is on winning. In any political party, you will get people who have understandable preoccupations with what's happening at this moment and with issues arising from week to week, and who want to dedicate their energy and enthusiasm to trying to contest or to promulgate in those particular circumstances. The difficulty of any political party is getting people to take a slightly longer view. I don't mean an infinite future, I'm talking about a couple of years ahead, and to say, right, it is worth channeling our energies in such a direction and subordinating our pressing requirements in such a way as to keep our eye on the ball, keep our objective of winning power absolutely clear.
What do you think of the new Labour leadership?
Well, I've known Neil Kinnock for a number of years. I think he's a likeable chap. I think he's packaged the Labour Party very well, to be honest. I think he's done a good job on packaging, but on substance, in terms of policy, he's not changed it at all. In as much as he's said much on policy, he's carried their defence policy more into the land of unreality. I mean, totally disavowed any form of deterrent. Of course, he's a long-time C&D'er and unilateralist. I think the most disappointing thing is that he's used his 9-month honeymoon period only to package the Labour Party and not to make it face reality. And I think that's why, at the next election, the SDP will continue to take a lot of Labour voters. I suspect it will be a bit harder to get as many as we did last time. A lot of the Labour Party's problems of last election was its leader and its own goals. But of course the biggest swathe of voters is anyhow those who voted Conservative. That doesn't mean to say they're Conservative. They voted Conservative out of fear of Labour, out of a variety of reasons. And I think many of them, when there is a growth of disillusionment with the Thatcher style, if you like, they'll come to us.
I would think that people who are so used to making speeches ought to be able to listen to speeches, but they can't. And I think the House of Commons damages itself by too much mindless noise. Mind you, don't want a House of Commons which has a sort of church atmosphere. We don't want a reverential atmosphere. But I think if the House of Commons reduced its noise, reduced its interruption by 75%, and people only shouted out things when they can think of what they hope at any rate will be a brilliant bit of repartee, rather than, or a reasonable cheer, or occasionally a reasonable groan, but rather than just rather mindless noise, trying to create a noise for the sake of disrupting and putting the speaker off. I think the House of Commons would have higher respect.